The majority of modern-day TERF activism happens in the UK. As an American TERF, I don't ever feel FOMO for the vast amount of TERF community gatherings in the UK. No matter how fun, exciting, inspiring, compelling, and just generally amazing they are. I'm so happy for you guys that you have this amazing community of women that I don't get to be a part of because I'm thousands of miles away. Anyways, to cope, and to help my fellow American TERFs cope, this video is about American radical feminist history. In this video, I'll review historical radical feminist materials not currently available on the internet. These magazines, photos, discs, flyers, and articles are all from real-life libraries and the personal collections of older American feminists. I'm reviewing them here so that they don't get forgotten. Libraries and museums tend to hide material that's seen as more controversial, so I'm worried that if I don't do this, these materials may be hidden away and lost forever. American radical feminist history should be remembered, and I want to make this into a series, but for now, in particular, I'll review hard-to-find documents from the West Coast Lesbian Conference, Y2K magazine clippings from the L Word, and rare Mishfest music. Again, most, if not all of this stuff, can't be found anywhere online as of now. The 1973 West Coast Lesbian Conference hosted and was partially founded by a male claiming to be a woman, named quote-unquote Beth Elliott. He performed music at the conference, but many of the actual women protested. Radical feminist Robin Morgan, in her keynote speech, referred to Elliott as a gate-crashing male transvestite and an opportunist, an infiltrator, and a destroyer, with the mentality of a rapist. Nice. Anyway, here's a flyer for the event. Robin Morgan is listed on the flyers, so she was likely an important person to the event, not just some random speaker. Robin Morgan's keynote address can be found online. Just search for, quote, lesbianism and feminism, synonyms or contradictions by Robin Morgan, and you'll find it. Here was the agenda for the event. There's primarily academic stuff. This event was hosted at UCLA, so there's no surprise that the agenda looked like a list of classes you would take at college. Also, check out this 1973 article excerpt from The Lesbian Tide, written by Anne for Freedom. Though men attempted to disrupt the conference several times during the weekend, only one being with a penis actually succeeded. This person, an entertainer and singer-guitarist, was scheduled to appear the first night of the conference. Some San Francisco sisters recognized the singer as someone who was in the process of transsexual operation, from male to female, and who almost split up the San Francisco chapter of the Daughters of Bilitis. Women tried to shout the entertainer of the stage. Other women shouted in defense of his/her appearance. Through the next 2 days, the debate raged. As I was later informed, this person is pre-operative, and therefore technically male. Furthermore, this person had allegedly threatened to sue the conference planners for sexism if not allowed to appear. During a general session on the last day of the conference, a sister spoke and said she had been planning to become a transsexual, female to male, but after being in a woman's consciousness-raising group, she began to realize that she didn't have to be a man to be a human being. She denounced transsexualism as both sexist and a ripoff. The debate will probably continue. And this is precisely why radical feminist discussions need to happen more, to prevent women from self-harming through gender drugs and going down that path. I also read old magazines about the L Word, a popular TERF TV show. The show was about the dating lives of a group of lesbians. I have another video about this, but basically, the L Word denied that trans women could be lesbians and had an entire storyline about how women can't be men. The storyline called out the misogyny of female-to-male transition, as well as the homophobia of women who decide to transition into men and then date gay men. The L Word is the most TERF movie/TV show that I've been able to find thus far. For documentational purposes, here are all the magazine issues I could find that featured the original L Word show on the cover. Note, the Curve magazine issues can be read online for free on the official magazine website, so I won't go into detail about those, but I recommend you take advantage of their website. To save time, I'll choose 5 of these magazines to review in this video. The January 2004 issue of New York Magazine featured the L Word on its cover. It was the only straight publication I read. I read majority lesbian magazines and also a couple of gay male magazines that covered the L Word. New York Magazine was the only magazine that had a sexualized cover. I mean, I guess it makes sense if you think about it. Lesbian magazines tend to value emotional connection and feminism. Gay male magazines don't care for the sexual attractiveness of the female body, and New York Magazine has a lot of straight male readers. But before I talk about the rather badly written L Word article in this magazine, I noticed that Ariel Levy is mentioned on the cover. Ariel Levy is a bisexual radical feminist. She wrote a book called Female Chauvinist Pigs, which talks about how female self-objectification is anti-feminist. And take a look at this quote of hers in the magazine. Toscamp started taking testosterone several months ago and will correct you if you refer to her as she. For the entire article, Ariel Levy refers to a trans man as she. Levy documents the rise of masked lesbians who refer to themselves as boys rather than butches, spelled B-O-I. She critiques lesbians who take the mask-femme dynamic to the toxic extreme. She did all of this in a mainstream publication. 2004 was definitely a different time. Ariel Levy's article was the most entertaining article I've read in all of these Y2K magazines. Listen to this. Quote, "You pronounced woman, spelled with a Y, woman. Throwing Y in woman was a linguistic attempt, however goofy, to overthrow the patriarchy, to identify the female gender as something independent, self-sustaining, and reformed. I knew it. I knew I wasn't the only one that thought the spelling was goofy, but you all gaslit me. I don't know much about Ariel Levy, but saying that she's one of the only well-known American TERF writers other than Janice Raymond, I wonder what she's up to nowadays." Anyways, back to the L Word article, written by Kara Bolanek, a lesbian liberal feminist. I didn't like it. Wanna guess why? Here's a quote. "The media have long depicted lesbians as sexless beings in lumberjack shirts whining endlessly about the patriarchy. This month, Showtime's hot new series The L Word tears away the flannel to reveal a group of LA lesbians as obsessed with sex, success, and shoes as Sex and the City's hetero quartet ever was. Not to white knight, but the butch hate was uncalled for, and Sex and the City is disgusting. The L Word did have unnecessary porn-esque scenes sometimes, but overall it was way better than Sex and the City. Bolanek spends the entire first section of the article complaining that masculine lesbians in prior TV history, like Ellen DeGeneres, weren't sexualized nor femme enough. Here's another quote. "Lesbians have long been perceived as interchangeable with hardcore feminists of the humorless persuasion, whereas with gay men, it's perfectly fine to have a gay hairdresser and watch Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, which are all very pat and cute and funny. Gay women are considered serious, boring, political," says Denise. Rosie O'Donnell drills that stereotype of the dumpy lesbian home every time you see her in the New York Post. She's either saying something obnoxious or she's got some god-awful outfit on. "I saw a picture of her in the tabloids at the US Open wearing kayaki pants that were way too short, with tube socks and clogs. I wouldn't even wear that to take the garbage out." Wow, okay. And I thought I had a direct personality. Needless to say, based on this quote, it's pretty clear that the article writer highly prefers femmes over butches. Next, I read the February 2005 issue of The Advocate. According to the About Us page on their website, The Advocate is supposed to be a general LGBTQIA alphabet soup magazine. However, yesterday I went to Barnes & Noble to look at the latest version of lesbian and gay magazines. I wanted to compare them to the Y2K magazines I read. In Barnes & Noble's, The Advocate was very clearly placed under the men's interest section of the magazines, and the content inside catered almost exclusively to gay males. If gay men want their own magazine, that's fine, but be more honest about it. Don't say it's equally meant for sapphic women. After that, I walked over to the women's interest section of Barnes & Noble's, but unfortunately, there were no lesbian magazines whatsoever. Just the Cosmopolitan, strategically placed exactly in the middle of the display with, I shit you not, this cover of Sydney Sweeney. Who is this magazine issue fucking for? Does Cosmo think that women are stupid enough to think that this cover is female empowerment? Cosmo thinks that we'll see this and be like, ah yes, I would love to be just like Sydney Sweeney, named #1 desperate pick-me of the year by radfem magazine, in a relationship with Scooter Braun, an obnoxious old man. None of the lesbian magazines I read are in print anymore, which is strange considering that there were so many of them in the early 2000s and were supposedly more progressive in the year 2026. That said, opening up this issue of The Advocate, look at these fun pictures of the cast. So nice and high quality. Must be from all that extra funding and money that gay males have. My favorite part of the article was this quote from Kate Monig, one of the real-life lesbian actresses, and it gives good insight into part of the reason why she was so successful in her role as Shane. Quote, "It's very interesting how life imitates art and art imitates life. I find whenever I read scenes of some magnitude, I'm like, oh, I feel that I've experienced this, or I am experiencing this, or I might start to experience it soon." It's a great quote. Now to the good stuff, the lesbian magazines. If you've ever wondered what lesbian culture in the early 2000s was like compared to now, lesbian magazines are a great resource. Not only do you get articles, but you also get to look at popular travel destinations like lesbian bars and festivals, fashion trends, as well as photography and art made during the time. One of the things I noticed in these magazines is that there are so many ads for lesbian cruises. These cruise destinations look idyllic in the ads. It makes me wonder if something like this could actually work in the modern day. Seeing that perverted men can now identify as lesbians, the majority of these cruises would now consist of creepy men, the opposite of this idealized picture. Next up, we have Go, a lesbian magazine. The November/December 2007 issue features Leisha Hailey. She was one of 3 lead actresses in The L Word who is a lesbian in real life. The article focuses on Leisha Hailey's musical career. Apparently, she was touring as a professional musician while also shooting scenes for The L Word. I looked up her music. Here's a clip. She is pretty talented. I never knew how artistic Leisha Hailey is. Here's a quote from the article. Melody Wells, the article author, asks, "What is more meaningful to you, music or acting?" Leisha Hailey replies, "I don't think one is more meaningful than the other. Both acting and singing, they're like my purpose for being here. Like I've discovered the secret of life. And painting too. It's my favorite high. It's better than anything I've ever felt." Melody Wells responds, "You paint?" And then Leisha Hailey says, "Like twice a year I'll find something I want to paint. And I'll work on it for months. It's kind of what I envision doing when I'm old and have all the time in the world." There's contrast between Leisha Hailey's artistic personality versus Alice's personality, aka the L Word character she played. Alice did not come off as artistic at all. Alice's personality was more bubbly, friendly, and common, not necessarily in a bad way, but she just didn't strike me as an artist. This contrast between Leisha Hailey's personality and her character Alice speaks to Leisha Hailey's talent as an actress. The article also talks about her surprise at the L Word's success as a show. She and many of the crew members initially thought that would be only a small niche show, but it turned out to be a hit. Next up, Girlfriends Magazine, December 2003. This was written around the beginning of the L Word. Look at how Y2K this article photo looks. The writer of the article, Candace Moore, begins talking about how groundbreaking the L Word is. At the time, there were no lesbian TV shows, only temporary lesbian episodes like in Buffy. Moore then goes on to interview the cast members with a specific focus on Kate Moennig. Did you know that Kate Moennig auditioned for the role of Brandon Tina in Boys Don't Cry? Yeah, I couldn't believe it either, but it's right here in the article. It's strange how all these things tend to be connected in a way, but ultimately I'm glad that Moennig contributed her talents to a TERF TV show rather than to Boys Don't Cry. In this article, Moore says to Kate Moennig, "Shane breaks hearts, but she's portrayed as basically a good person." Kate Moennig replies, "The relationship that Shane has with her friends, in comparison to the women that she does this to, is very different. She looks at her friends like gold, as I think people do in real life. Shane doesn't focus on the evil aspects of being a seductress. It's like a subconscious thing that she doesn't realize she's doing." I think Candace Moore has a good point. Shane was unfaithful, and no one is more against non-committal relationships than I am. That said, for Shane's character, I think the good outweighs the bad. Not to be too repetitive with my other videos, but Shane is charismatic and attractive in a way that modern-day wokies would never allow for. The L Word appealed to lesbian and bisexual women in a practical way. Literally go on any YouTube video with Kate Moennig in it, and all the comments are from women talking about how hot she is. You know how feminine gay men tend to struggle in the gay dating scene? Masculine women don't actually struggle in the same way. Among sapphic women, there's actually a high demand, low supply of masculine women. There's an actual term for this called the mask shortage. Her, the main dating app for lesbians, gave free subscriptions to mask lesbians in order to get more of them on the app. Don't think this worked though, because literally anyone could have claimed to be a mask, including femmes who just want a free sub, as well as men claiming to be women. But basically so many mask lesbians are now transitioning into men, worsening the shortage, and the radfems are the only people actually reversing the mask shortage in any productive way. Trans men are still mask women pretending to be men, but after transition they don't stay in lesbian dating circles sometimes. And no, there wasn't a mask shortage in the early 2000s. Another reason why I bring this up is because I think the lack of representation of butch femme relationships in modern media is unfortunate. I get that when taken to the extreme, butch femme can copy the bad aspects of heterosexual relationships, but it's usually not that extreme. You can't control who you like, and a lot of sapphics prefer masculine women. Claiming that butch femme is not sapphic enough, exactly like straight relationships, and that butches are basically men, is a contributing factor to this transgender nonsense after all. So in that way, I guess I disagree with a lot of radfems who are against butch femme because it's apparently not sapphic enough. But as I was saying, straight media doesn't know about this demand for butch femme representation nor understand it. You look at mainstream shows like Bridgerton, which is finally starting to have lesbian romances, yet all the female characters in the show are still femme. The December 2007 issue of Lesbian News features interviews with 3 straight actresses from the L Word. From left to right in the picture, they are Marlene Matlin, Jennifer Beals, and Sybil Shepherd. These actresses did their jobs decently, particularly Marlene Matlin and Jennifer Beals, who played a couple. Sybil Shepherd was clearly talented, but her role was meant to be more of a comedic side character. She plays a later-in-life lesbian who divorces her husband over a one-night stand with a woman. She has her first heartbreak in her 50s, which results in crying into a tub of ice cream-style heartbreak. Not meant to be a compelling performance, but certainly a funny and entertaining one. Not to be too woke or anything, but I don't think it's a coincidence that the actresses who are lesbians in real life had better performances than these 3. It's certainly possible for straight actresses to have great performances as lesbians, but they have to compete with lesbian actresses who have a real-life experience buff. If you're a lesbian actress who is shit at her job, this buff won't help you much. But if you're decent like Kate Moennig and Leisha Hailey, it'll help a lot. The article talks about how extremely choreographed all the love scenes for the straight actresses had to be. It makes me wonder if it had to be the same way for the in real life lesbian actresses. Anyways, what stood out to me the most in this article was when the article author Dennis Penn asks, quote, "I know you do a lot of charity work with charities that have conservative points of view, such as the Red Cross. Have any of them had a problem with your being on the show?" And Marlene Matlin replies, "None of the charities had a problem with it, and if they did, they would lose me as a supporter. I have found just the opposite. I have not encountered one negative comment. I'm not surprised that the conservative charities didn't care, but I am surprised that the L Word crew didn't care that she was working with conservatives. In modern times, if any actress is found to be working with a conservative organization, she would be blacklisted from Hollywood. It's refreshing to see that people back then weren't such purity-spiraling freaks." In terms of other L Word physical media, there's a book called The L Word: Welcome to Our Planet, the official companion book to the hit Showtime series. This book is very easy to track down, so I won't review it, but it offered a behind-the-scenes look for the L Word and was published in 2005. However, it was written by Cara Bolanek, the anti-butch liberal feminist mentioned earlier. Jennifer Beals, one of the lead actresses in the original L Word, released a photography book 2 years ago. The book has hundreds of high-quality behind-the-scenes photos. The photos in this book are beautifully taken, and I would highly recommend it. Kate Moennig and Leisha Hailey released a joint memoir a year ago about their time as actresses on the L Word. It's very woke because it was published a year ago, but it's still decent. Also, because I'm a bit obsessed with the L Word, I was able to get an official signed edition from Barnes & Noble's. It's signed by Kate Moennig and Leisha Hailey. Although these are sold out on the Barnes & Noble's website, there's still a lot of signed copies floating around online marketplaces. Just a fun fact. Next up, we have Rare Michfest physical media. Mishfest was a music festival that had a women-born women-only policy. No transgender women, aka men, allowed. I found this very rare photography book for Mishfest by Angela Jimenez. It's a great book. Here are my top 3 favorite photos. This first photo is of a woman named Dani rigging lights for the Mishfest performance stage. Narratively, I really like how this book showed the process of building Mishfest from the ground up. Artistically, this photo in particular looks nice because the photographer framed Dani's face using the poles and the lighting setup, which creates a clear focal point. The second photo is less artistic but shows what, I presume, is one of the entrances to Mishfest. The painted lettering on the gate is a nice touch, and shows that there were a lot of creative women involved in the creation of Mishfest. The third photo is a group of women enjoying a meal together at the festival. I like the sense of community and the relaxed atmosphere that this photo shows. The camera framing really helps show this. The one-point perspective with the table in the center is perfect. I also found this Mishfest 1985 music disc. I listened to it and it's great. Here's a short clip of a performance by Rhiannon. The vibe is very calming and it'd be great as background music for hosting dinner guests or for relaxing after a busy day. Listening to a festival as bigoted as me really did wonders for my nervous system. The record is fairly rare, but it pops up every once in a while on eBay and other online marketplaces. There's also a cassette version, but again, it's not available for listening anywhere online, including Spotify. Here are some program books from Mishfest. This one is from 1987. Here's a table of contents. There were tons of fun community events. In my opinion, the festival really catered well to women of all different interests and backgrounds. The festival catered especially well to women who like to read radfem books. For example, here's a workshop listing for a discussion of various radical feminist authors like Mary Daly. Here's the 1998 program, and here's the workshop schedule for one of the days. Again, an impressive variety of topics, ranging from herbal medicine to anti-S&M. Here's the workshop listing for anti-S&M feminism. I have a feeling this would have been a popular workshop. Here's the 2021 program. This was my favorite cover. The aesthetic is so pretty. As you saw in the previous pictures, each program has a beautifully designed cover which changes from year to year. Here's a workshop listing for a radical feminist discussion about Camp Trans. Camp Trans was the protest group outside of Mishfest. They protested Mishfest's women-born, women-only policy. I bet the women in this workshop talked a lot of shit about Camp Trans. I would have loved to be there to witness it. In closing, although we Americans won the Revolutionary War, the Brits have us beat in quality of feminism. Nevertheless, we can still have a little bit of fun for ourselves by taking a trip through American TERF history. So let me know in the comments below if you would like to see this become a video series or have any other suggestions. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.